Young everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is good to be back. When last have we had this sit down conversation? Like, it's been so long. Like, we haven't, like, don't you miss me, bestie? I miss you. I mean, we have our little chats here and there, but I really miss this, just us talking together, like bestie, like, you know. But other than that, guys, I really did miss y'all, and I really want to get into this video because it has been a video that has been on my heart for a very long time, and I know it's going to be quite on the controversial side, but it has to be spoken about. And I really want us to have this conversation. Like, either take me in the comment section and tell me, like, no girl, you're actually wrong, you're actually right. Like, I don't know, talk to me in the comment section, because I feel like this is a conversation that we need to have more, and I feel like it fits so well because as somebody who is kind of like walking into the booktube world, I feel like I need to talk about this. Now, before I talk about this, I need to firstly make it very, very clear that I'm recording this on a Saturday, right? And this is the only time I have to record. I have a lot of schoolwork and exams coming up, and this is the time I can record my video. So there's gonna be a noise. I don't live alone, unfortunately. I love my family, but there's gonna be noise in the background, and please don't listen to the noise, just listen to the what I'm trying to say in this video. And I really hope, other than that you will enjoy the video. And yeah, again, please, let's have a conversation in the comments. Like, let's talk about it, you know. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I have good news firstly to share. I finished my reading challenge for Goodreads, which is, I feel like, an achievement because I wanted to read 15 books by the end of this year. I'm grateful that I kept to my commitment to finish reading 15 books in 2025. So I want to basically round off like the last 3 books I read before I as I completed this challenge, because I feel like the last 3 books really have impacted my perspective on romance novels and the literature of romance, and even like romance in media, how it's portrayed and stuff. And that's why I'm saying it's going to be a bit controversial, because I have to say something that people may not agree with. And the truth is, we need more Black booktubers or Black book talkers. We need, or whatever you call it on Instagram, I don't know. But we need more Black women or Black men who show up and talk more about these books that we so read, you know. And the reason why I'm saying this is really because I had to admit the way Black people and the way Black love is represented in literature and also in books, in media, sorry, not books, in media, is kind of worrying for me. Let me just say that it's kind of like a bit, it's like there's a lot of great misrepresentation of Black people as well as Black love in literature and media. And let's talk about that. So book number 1, I read The Love of My Life by Rosie Wallish. So I don't know if you guys were with me, but in the beginning of like some months ago, I read one of her works, and it was called The Man Who Didn't Call. And I was very honest with y'all. I was very honest. I did not like the book that much, and it's a story for another day. But I did not like her work, right? And my friend recommended this book, and I read it, and I was like to my friend, like, why didn't you recommend this book first instead of like The Man Who Didn't Call? Because I felt like this book was one of her best work. I'm not gonna lie, like, it was one of her best work. The way, her writing style, the way she told the story, it was interesting. I actually liked it. And of course, The Love of My Life is literally like a romance book, a bit with a twist. So it was a bit interesting. It had like It had the love story, it had the drama, it had the romance, it just had everything. And it was really an enticing read. It was something that I would definitely recommend to somebody else. It wasn't like weird or anything. I really enjoyed her work, and I feel like I didn't like her first work, and I feel like if I was to tell somebody to read one of her works, I would definitely recommend this one first before reading The Man Who Didn't Call. I just loved the way she wrote this. I just feel like her work, her writing has, like, I wouldn't say improved, but it felt more easier to read. Let me just say that. It felt more easier to read, right? So I did rate this book, and I loved it. It was a good book. And then the next book I read was Summer at the French Cafe, right? This book was, how do I say this? It was a good book. It was a good book. It definitely had some scenes, okay, some spicy scenes that I had to like skip forward, must have skipped through. But the storyline was good. The way the author wrote the romantic aspect of the story was interesting. It was definitely a bit of a twist, of course. Was it a twist? Let me think about it. No, it wasn't really a twist. It was really about two people trying to navigate the dealings of life, basically, you know. So there was not really a twist, but it was relatable. It was kind of more relatable, on the relatable side. And then the other book I read is called Rebel by Beverly Jenkins, and this was actually recommended by somebody in my comments. So I was like, oh, okay, I can read this. And I read it, and one thing I can say, it was a good book. The storyline was a bit interesting as well, but there were some scenes, again, that I had to skip through really fast, okay? And I hope you guys can connect the dots, but you guys can see that they fell into the romantic literature side, and romantic novels, love stories, you know, which is something I realize I'm a fan of. I love romance. I mean, my first 5-star reads is a romance book. So I must admit, I think ending the challenge, the reading challenge, with some romance books really also opened my, really ignited my perspective on the romance literature that we consume, and not just like literature, but as well in the media, you know, like through movies we watch, series, and all these different things. Just even like the celebrities that we watch and we follow, even them all play a factor into what I'm trying to say. And I truly believe that the way Black love and Black people in TV and in literature are presented can really be a misrepresentation. And I feel like there's a call to improve. There's a call to basically change, but also there's a call for us as readers, like us who have our booktubes, to kind of stand on the platform and start reading more books by Black authors, right? Not just to vouch for Black authors, but let us see the literature that we feel like represents us better. Let me get into it, okay? So I was reading Rebel by Beverly and Miss Beverly. Let's say that, Miss Beverly. And as I said again, the book was amazing. However, I realized that while there was a representation of a Black woman and a Black man, and it was Black love, you know, I realized that I've always had a struggle of connecting with a lot of stories of Black women, mainly because, and hear my heart when I say this, it's not that I do not relate with the challenges. I feel like we emphasize on these challenges in stories. in every book I read, there's an emphasis on fitting the stereotype of Black women should be strong, right? And unfortunately, that also means that Black men are usually represented as very violent, you know. In order for a Black man to be seen like to be strong and to really seem like he takes care of his woman, then he has to be somebody who is violent and this is not like a shame or a blow to the book that I was reading from Rebel. I feel like the book was in itself, it really just pointed out that I love Black love, but there's not enough representation of it. There's not enough books that make you want to really read more about it, you know. And I'm saying this and let's take it back. Like, before I started reading all these books, I read on Wattpad, right? And I remember, and I was reading Wattpad books, right? And you know, in Wattpad there's this thing where fanfics were one of the greatest. Like, fanfics were like the foundation of Wattpad, right? So there'll be fanfics for One Direction, 5 Seconds of Summer, pretty much who else? Why Don't We? Like, all these different groups had their own fanfics, right? And if you were a follower back then, you also knew like solo artists like Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, and all these things had their own. And then we have fanfics of those, like, I don't know if you guys know, but when Diggy Simeons, who else? Diggy Simeons, Mindless Behavior, August Alsina, Keith Powers. By the way, congrats to Keith Powers and Ryan Destiny. They've been my number one like couple. I've been rooting for them for such a long time, and it's such good news to hear that, you know, they're engaged. But anyway, Keith Powers and all these like people were also really like famous in the fanfic world, right? And I'll be honest with you, right? When I read the fanfics for the One Direction and the 5 Seconds of Summer and everything, you might find stories, if it's like related to romance, right? You might find stories where the girl is sold by her mother to the group for some odd reason. I don't know. I don't know. Or she's this nerdy, quirky girl who doesn't get along with people, who's shy and everything. And maybe the celebrity, the people I mentioned in the fanfic are like the popular boys at school that happen to look at her.
Hi.
Boys at school never look at me. Taylor's the one they look at. I guess you could say I'm just kind of,
you know, like those moments, and then they kind of turn into this love story or whatever. Those fanfics were representing this romance, this love, where it was like the grumpy and the sunshine, or the one where it's like falling, how it felt to fall in love when somebody truly liked you, you know. Or the biggest problem for this woman, the main character, the woman main character, is that she was nerdy, or she was so occupied in her books that she was naive to the fact that the popular guy that happened to date her is actually like a bet or something like that. That's like the gist of the story is there, right? And then you move to the other fanfics, and you go there, okay, and hear my heart when I say this. You go there, and majority of the fanfics can be romance, right? But it's never the Black girl or the Black female character or the Black woman character, main character. She's never quirky or nerdy. she's in the sense not someone that many people aspire to be. She's either the one who's always fighting. I'm just gonna say that, let's be honest. She's the one who's always fighting, or she's the strong one, or she's the one who has to always be the strong one because the guy is always in trouble. He's either always or he's either always fighting somebody, or he's either always doing violence or something like that. And it's like, hear my heart when I say this, okay? Hear my heart when I say this. While we may look for relatableness in books and stuff like that, or in media, for example, while we may look for relatableness, we want to see people that look like us on screen or in books, I feel like we have so much work to still do, because there's not enough diversity. Let's say that. I feel like there's not enough diversity in Black literature, or not enough diversity I have read that have Black women who are genuinely nerdy, you know. And I feel like it's not that there's nothing. It's just that the amount of it is not as great as the other side. It's not obviously to pit anybody up. It's not about like who's better and who's not better and who should come for Black authors and stuff like that. No, it's just that idea to say like there is some literature there, but it's obviously not the ones that are being pushed out more as compared to the ones that fit the stereotype. Like, this is not even about a race thing. Like, let's not even fight about like race, like black and white. It's not really about that, but it's the fact that there is some literature like that where there's a great representation, that the guy is not always violent and the girl is allowed to be nerdy and all these different things. But I feel like those are the literatures that are not being pushed out, right? Same applies to media. Now for media, I'm going to bring in Korean dramas as well. So we have Hollywood, right? We watch all these shows, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of K-dramas. I'm not gonna lie. And you sit there in K-dramas and you watch probably 16, 20 episodes of a romantic story, a love story unfolding, and it is so slow burn that by episode 8, when they finally like recognize that they actually like each other or admit that they do, you get all fuzzy inside, you get all squirmy, and you're like, oh my god, yay, you know, like that kind of vibe. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like that's the kind of romance I love, like watching. I feel like K-dramas really give romance without the spicy scenes. I feel like, as I said in the very beginning of my channel, I feel like romance has just become, I'm going to be honest, it's just become about the spice and less about the actual like liking one another. It's just about the spice in it, and it really, how do I say this, it devalues romance. So, or it devalues when they use the word love, like I love you. No, you don't. You do not. Like, please do not lie, okay? But I feel like K-dramas kind of brought back this idea of love and romance, that it's not about the spice, it's about developing emotions for this person, for who they are, you know. And we see these dramas, and I'm not gonna lie, you see how they are loved out loud, or even the enemies to lovers, or the friends, like the childhood friends to lovers, or whatever, like whatever trope it is, though obviously the healthy ones. It has to be a healthy trope. Let's not go for the weird ones, okay? Like, I feel like there's some weird tropes rising up in the romance literature, and I'm like, okay. So obviously in the healthy tropes, those romance stories are really nice to watch. If it's slow burn, if it's not slow burn, then it's the one that has a romance story, but there's a bit of a twist, like, you know, like The Love of My Life. There's a bit of a twist and stuff like that. It's not just focused on the intimate or spicy scenes, but it's really the gist of literally liking somebody because of who they are, right? So we have that, right? And I'm not gonna lie, it's been taken over, but not just because of how the people look. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, Korean men are handsome, okay, and Korean women are absolutely beautiful, but it's not just about that. It's about literally the foundation. Like, they basically brought it back to the fact that when we say romance, we really mean like romance. You don't mean that, okay? So it's just this beautiful aspect of K-dramas, and it's clean. Majority of them, they're clean, okay? I don't know why they're not clean now, but they're clean, okay? And then we have stories where it's predominantly black people, right? And those are stories that I often run to, and I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning it's great. It seems great. They probably the black power couple, and you're like, wow, yes, this is what I want. You know, I want to see black people thriving. I want to see black people driving the best cars and living in a mansion and everything. Like, you want to see that, because if you see that, it also makes it feel like it's possible for you, you know? So you see these things, you're like, yes, this is what I like. And then the story changes, and somehow there's some violence, and then you realize that actually they did not build or get the cars the right way. They either got the cars or the house and everything through blood money and all these different things, and you're just like, okay. Or like, I feel like the best show that really represented like black power couples as well as black women and black men could be different from the stereotypes that are portrayed in media or in literature was Casey Undercover. That's just one example. I don't know, it's probably many, but Casey Undercover, guys, if you have watched Casey Undercover, please raise your hand. I think me admitting that I watched Casey Undercover kind of also reveals my age. And the fact that I have a lot to learn. But the truth is, Casey Undercover, Casey, I feel like she represented, or the family rather represented, black people in a way that we didn't have, like, there wasn't a need. Like, yes, there was like them being spies and fighting against crime. Let's point that out. They were fighting against crime. They were fighting against evil. But not only that, it was okay to be the nerdy black girl. It didn't make you less black, you know? It was okay to have a brother who was absolutely smart, who, yes, he may have been like fighting crime along the family, but he was really good in tech, and his strength, to be honest, wasn't relying on the fact that could he punch and could he fight and could he swear and could he do this. It was reliant on, like, he did, like, the fact that he didn't fight or anything didn't make him the weaker one. Let's just be honest. Like, even though they bullied each other as siblings, and of course, you know, as siblings, we are siblings. But the truth of the matter is, the Casey was not less of a black woman because she was nerdy, and she was the one who was awkward around guys, and you know, she wasn't the, how do I say this in a nice way? She wasn't less of a black woman. And same for Eddie. I think his name was Eddie. I can't remember. But in the same, like, Casey's younger brother, he wasn't less of a man just because he was smart. You know what I mean? And I feel like, now that I think about it, those kind of shows kind of gave me more power to be the person I am. And that's why I feel like, while I can call the black authors and say, black authors, come to the stand, write more books where it's okay for the black girl to be nerdy. Like, she doesn't have to always be the one who has to be the fixer of everything. She doesn't have to be the one who has to date the guy who is like violent and everything just to fit the narrative. And also, it's okay to write men who don't have to fight using their fists. Like, it's okay to write black men who don't have to fight using their fists. It doesn't make them less of a man. It does. And I feel like nerdy black woman doesn't make them less of a black woman. It doesn't make them less strong. And same for men. Like, I feel like this is not even just a call to authors, because I feel like there are authors out there who are writing these things, but it's a call for us black booktubers, you know. I feel like, or the people who love books, who are like nerdy about books, who enjoy literature and enjoy media, to kind of take the platform and talk about it. Talk about the books that you enjoy. Talk about the things that you do love, because I feel like the more we get up and we talk about the books that we love, the more we end up, I know it may not always meet the audience, you know, like I feel like, yes, there's going to be that unction to read what is popular, you know, to read what mainstream is pushing out to us, you know, but I feel like there's an opportunity here for us to give a space for Black authors as well, if that makes sense. Like, not that they need us like Black booktubers or anything, but I think it's that way of not just supporting, but also like bringing forth, how do I say this in a way? Like, let me be honest. Okay, so I love romance literature, and I'm so, when I talk to my friends, they can tell you I am so big on not wasting your time with a man. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. It's not me trying to be rude, but I feel like watching K-dramas and watching like Hollywood shows like My Life with the Walter Boys and stuff like that have really challenged my thinking, right? And also like there's some Christian romance that has happened there as well, and those things have really challenged my, not challenged, they have raised my standards, right? So I will literally tell my friends, do not fall for a guy who cannot do the basic. And I feel like we watch K-dramas, right, and we're like, people will quickly tell you it's so unrealistic, it's unrealistic, but the truth of the matter is you have hope in your heart that there is supposed to be a guy like this somewhere out there. Like, there's a guy like this who is this romantic, who loves his girl or his girlfriend or his future wife this much. You know, that story could be possible for you, or else you wouldn't be watching it, okay? Or else you wouldn't be interested in it, okay? But the point is I'm trying to make is that we watch the K-dramas and we expect this kind of love, and we like, I'm not gonna lie, I rave about it. Like, I talk to my friends about it. I'm like, guys, if you really want to understand what it means to be loved, if you want to understand what to raise your standards a little bit, I always recommend to say, go watch a K-drama. Go watch these K-dramas. I'll recommend one to you. When you are done watching them, you'll be like, I'm actually settling for the bare minimum. And it's not just about like raising your standards, it's about recognizing that if you can believe there's a love like that out there, like, you know, like, why don't we're gonna end up boosting it out more, right? And I'm using K-dramas as a reference, but there's also other booktubers, no shame to them, who bring up literature and their favorite authors and rave about them and speak about them. And even you as a person who just enjoys books, you also want to read this person's book, this person's recommendations, because you're like, wow, the way this person speaks about it and you know. And I feel like the same thing can happen with Black authors. And I feel like there's also a call on me to not just, to also look for books that represent me, like, and talk about that as well. To talk about books that are made by people or written by people who look like me, written by people who are diverse. Like, I'm not trying to say like, don't write the story about the Black girl who's strong, and I'm not trying to say don't write the story about the Black man who is violent. If it fits to the story, write it, right? But I'm saying we need more diversity, and I feel like other books have achieved that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I know this is gonna sound like be a surprise to my friend, but my friend is writing a book, and I know if you're watching this, my girl, I'm talking about you, right? You're writing this book, and I know you're gonna change it up somehow, and you have to start from scratch and everything. But I just feel like the way you write, or the way she writes, rather, there's a diversity there. It's not about just fitting in and looking like the person or whatever. Like, we need to relate with the themes, you know? Basically, like, I don't know how to, I feel like I'm going around in circles trying to explain one and the same thing. But in conclusion, we don't always have to write the story where black people are succeeding because they had to succeed. Because we read stories where if we see a CEO in a K-drama, we don't assume, oh my word, the CEO must get his CEO position. No, we don't assume that. We know that he's coming from a generational wealth. we know he's coming from generational wealth. And yes, if there's a story like that, it's not the ones that are mostly pushed out. You get what I mean? If it's a CEO or prince or whatever, we know they didn't get to that position through like. But I feel like for some reason we always write that the reason why the black person is rich is because they have skeletons always in the closet, and the whole story is the fact that they have skeletons in their closet and they're violent and everything, and they crooks, they don't get their money the right way and stuff like that. And can we improve? And can we actually, I feel like this has a lot to do with like the good news and bad news, right? And this is what I'm trying to say. Good news happens. There's always some good in the world, right? But not any people don't report bad news. I mean, good news. Majority of people don't report good news. Because why? We are so drawn to bad news. And I feel like the reason I'm bringing this out for booktubers, right? I'm calling you out. There is more literature out there and more media out there that is not making it to the mainstream, mainly because we don't consume it, because it doesn't fit what we usually consume. Like we're so used to consuming the bad things that we don't even, I want to say bad, but I would say like we're so used to consuming what is portrayed as a stereotype in the black community that we don't even try to see that actually there's a diversity in the black community. If we don't try to, like, you know, same with bad news. We consume bad news. I mean, we have outlets, we have channels and all these different things that can focus on bad news the whole day. Like, I'm not even joking, the whole day they can speak about bad news. And we really get reports on good news. And I feel like good news doesn't trend, it's not viral, because nobody really is drawn to that, you know. I'm calling the black booktubers, right, to say, like, let's try and find books that represent us. This is a challenge for all of us. I'm gonna try and find books that represent the black girl who is like not just getting straight A's but is career focused, and this guy, and her standards are high, you know, like not just like whatever background she's coming from, she has high standards. Like, she's not gonna let her background define the fact that she doesn't deserve the best man. Like, the heck, I'm not gonna like read a story where she's not gonna accept the fact that she's smart, and she's not gonna mess around with her career just for some guy, or not gonna mess around her degree for just some guy. Like, no offense. And I also would like to read a story where the black man is literally thriving because he's smart. Like, he built something. I don't know if he's thriving in tech or whatever, but he built his own business. He worked so hard, you know, whether or not his background was. I want to read more of that, because that doesn't make him less of a black man. And her being smart and quirky and nerdy and shy doesn't make her less black or less of a black woman. I want to see that diversity, and I'm gonna take it upon myself to like actually speak about it. Like, I'm not against, as I said, I'm not against the other books. I love them. I'm still gonna read them. I'm still gonna read those books. But one thing I'm gonna do as well is try to incorporate more literature that represents more me. I think literature like these books, hold on, like these books represent my standards. They're relatable because I may not look like them, but they nonetheless represent my standards. I will never settle for just anybody. And I feel like they've shown that, especially also in the Rebel book. They've shown that. Like, I may not look like you physically, I may not talk like you, and I may not have the same background like you, but let's be at least relatable. Like, you are a smart woman. Like, Rebel, oh, she was smart. Like, I mean, she was smart. I mean, like, I was like, girl, okay, She was smart, and she was like, she was calculated. She didn't just do anything just like impulsively. Like, she was, you know, like I could see myself in her, even if I didn't look like her, like physically or whatever, but I didn't relate to her background because it was set in like in those in the back in the days. The truth of the matter is, I could relate to her because I could see a woman who wasn't afraid to be smart, who wasn't afraid, or wasn't going to let anybody come between her dreams. I mean, she found a man who was going to accept her for her dreams. Like, can I get a like, can we have more of those, please? Please, can we have the dirty girl too? And can you guys petition again to Casey, please, to Zendaya, please, tell her, please, on my behalf, né? You can use my name. My name is Vanessa, and I am the face of Beulah. Yes, tell her I would love more Casey Undercover. I will act, actually. She can go to college and everything, and she can write me in. I'm not even joking. She can write me in as somebody who just has to be the adoptive or the agency sent her. I'll do the rest. I'll do the rest. I got this. But anyway, I feel like I spoke a lot, said a lot, and I feel like I was really trying to be careful with what I said, but at the same time also be truthful to what I've noticed. And I hope you guys, again, let's have a conversation in the comment section. If you're like, nah, I don't agree with you, please put the books in the comment section. Please put the shows in the comment section. I would love to watch them. I would love to read them. Prove me wrong, please. Prove me wrong. And if you agree with me, tell me, come in the comment section, tell me why you agree. Let's talk about it. But yeah, guys, that's the end of my video. That's the end of my rant. And yeah,